G'day guys, how we doing? Good, amazing. Welcome to Ballarat Wildlife Park, guys. My name is Noah, I'm one of the bird keepers here today. And joining us in the water are some of our little blue penguins. These guys can also be called little penguins or fairy penguins, but mainly little blue penguins, and they're called this because of that coloration you can see on their backs there. Now this species is actually the only species that have those slate blue feathers on their backs, and they have this for a very special form of camouflage called counter shading. And what that means is that when they're swimming out in the water, their blue backs blend in really well with the blue water so that they can hide from any predators above them. And their white bellies blend in really well with the white sky so that they can hide from any predators underneath them. Now, these guys are a temperate species, and what that means is that you're not going to find them around Antarctica or living out in the snow, but these guys you'll actually find around the south coast of Australia, all the way from Western Australia to the south of New South Wales. You'll also find them around Tasmania and New Zealand too. And here in Victoria, you'll mainly find these guys around Phillip Island, which is this photo behind me here. You can also find them down St Kilda Beach and down at Warrnambool as well. Now here at the park, we have 14 little penguins, and one of the most asked questions we get is what are those things around their wings? And now they're not little floaties to help them swim. These guys are very good swimmers, but these are just little tags to help us tell who is who and a little bit about where they have come from. I'll try and introduce them. So this one here in the green and the white, this is Penguini. Going back off to his bed in the yellow and the white that I was just feeding, that was Halloumi. And over here in the double dark blue, this is Boof. Now, Penguini here, she's got two different coloured armbands, and this tells us that she came from outside of the park. And we're part of a breeding program here at Ballarat Wildlife Park, and that allows us to swap our penguins with other zoos so that we can breed and mate our penguins and mix up their genetic diversity just a little bit. And so some of these penguins have come from other zoos and parks. However, we do have two very special penguins. And this one coming out of the water just here is one of them. In the black and the purple, this is Hop, and her sister Bunny, who is not out at the moment, but she's got a white and a pink armband on. They were actually two rescue penguins, and they were rescued off the coast of New South Wales. Hop unfortunately came to us, she had a broken wing. However, she has been fixed, and they've both been very happy and healthy ever since. Now, Boof here has two of the same coloured armbands on, same as Tucker in the light blue here, and Ash coming out of the water now in the double red. And these guys were born and raised here at the park from an egg as part of that breeding program. Until recently, Ash here was the most recent penguin that was born. He was about 2 years old at the moment. However, a couple of weeks ago, we did have a new penguin hatch. His name is Felipe. He's got two white armbands on if you see him. He's only about 14 weeks old at the moment, but he does look the same as the rest of these penguins, just a little bit smaller. He has all those really, really blue feathers, and he's been really loving going out into the water. Maybe not. Now, these guys spend heaps of time out in the water. They spend about 80% of their time in and around the water, and they've got some really cool adaptations to help them with this. And one of them is their feathers. Now, these guys have roughly 10,000 feathers all over their body. They're very small and they're very closely packed together. And what this does is that when they're in the water, it traps a layer of air in between their water and their skin. And this helps to insulate them and keep them warm while they're swimming. They also have a little gland just above their tail that secretes an oil, and this helps to waterproof their feathers. Now, unlike other birds that'll lose a couple feathers at a time throughout the whole year, these guys go through something called a catastrophic molt. And what that means is they lose and regrow every single one of those 10,000 feathers at the same time. It happens over the course of about 2 to 3 weeks. And while this is happening, they lose that waterproofing and they lose that insulation. So they don't actually go out into the water, and they don't hunt, they don't swim, and they don't eat for the couple of weeks it takes to regrow those feathers. But before this happens, they will store a lot of fat and a lot of energy to help them survive through that molt. Now, these guys, naturally, they'll do it, and we don't need to tell them to do it. They do it naturally, and so when they go on their molt, we will stop feeding them until they have regrown those feathers. It's very stressful for them, so we make sure that we leave them alone and let them focus on regrowing those feathers. We don't have any at the moment. All of our penguins have finished their molt as of now, but it does look very funny. They get very big and very fluffy. Another thing that these guys have to help them out in the water is something called a nictitating membrane. And this is just a third eyelid that covers their eyes. This helps them to see under the water and protect their eyes from any dirt or debris that might be in there. Now, as you might have seen, these guys don't have any teeth, and they're going to swallow their food whole. So they're not going to go after anything that is too much bigger than this pilchard right here. And their main prey that they're going to go and find and eat is going to be things like small schooling fish, small crustaceans, and as well as small squids and octopus. But one thing they do have to help them get all of the food that they need is something called papillae, and these are just little keratin hooks right at the back of their tongue. It's kind of like a spiky tongue. When the fish comes along, penguin comes to eat it, the fish decides it doesn't want to get eaten that specific day, tries to swim away, those hooks go up, and it stops the fish from backing out. Now, at the moment, they're pretty chill, they're just floating around, but when they get up to speed, they can look very fast under the water. But these guys are actually one of the slower species of penguin. But the reason they look so fast is because they use their strong wings and their strong feet to help them to turn and spin really quickly. And this is good to help them catch their prey that I mentioned before, as well as to escape their predators. Now, because they spend so much time out in the water, they do get quite tired. So what they'll actually do is they'll form big groups and float on top of the water in these groups, and they can take turns having little naps. And once they've done all their fishing and once they've done all their hunting, they'll come back into the shallows, wait until nightfall to walk all the way up the beach back to their homes. Now, it's the male penguins that actually build the homes, and they'll build their homes and burrows in the sand dunes, underneath shrubbery and in rock crevices as well. And they'll go out and they'll also find lots of leaves and sticks to decorate these burrows and make nice pretty nests out of. And then hopefully the male penguin that has the prettiest looking nest and the best singing voice will find himself a partner. Now, like other penguins, these guys are monogamous, and that means they like to stick with one penguin at a time. However, unlike other penguins, these guys actually have the highest rate of divorce. Now, while they are quite quick at turning and spinning and escaping their predators out in the wild, they are still hunted down in the water, and they'll be hunted down by things like seals and sharks and sea eagles. However, as you can see, they are quite small and quite slow on land, so their main predators are things like foxes, feral cats and dogs as well. As I mentioned before, we're doing our part here at the park with our breeding program. And places like Phillip Island are doing some incredible work with their breeding programs too. However, if you would like to do your part to help these species out, some really simple things you can do if you're visiting any of the beaches along the south coast of Australia, or Tassie or New Zealand, is just picking up rubbish after yourself, discarding of fishing lines and fishing nets properly, keeping dogs on leashes, and if you are lucky enough to see them out in the wild, just giving them their space and admiring them from afar. Alright, I might wrap this presentation up here, guys. Thank you so much for coming and listening to my presentation. Next one will be the dingo presentation at 1:30, just behind you. If you'd like to stick around and ask any questions, feel free to. I'll be standing on that rock in just a couple of seconds. Otherwise, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.